Hey guys, welcome back to another live show on the Bogey Men channels. This is our first major show. Obviously, you can see myself here in the darkness as a light bulb just blew this afternoon. I'm joined by Michael, co-host on the podcast. We thought we'd do this a couple of times throughout the year, kind of starting with the Open Championship. We're going to be doing a lot around the Women's Irish Open and then kind of lead up into the Solheim Cup and the Ryder Cup. A few live shows, which would just be a good way of us is getting started with kind of doing, having live conversations with you guys and just kind of recapping our initial thoughts immediately after the bigger competitions like the majors and stuff are kicking off. So, Michael, how are you? What do you make of the Open?
I'm good. I kind of sat in front of the TV all day watching it, hoping for some drama, which got a little bit here and there, but nothing as major as I kind of hoped. But I enjoyed it. Like literally, it's the Open, so you sit for 4 days and watch as much of it as possible. I thought like it was. I thought Hoylake was a really good venue. I think it lived up to its a beast, and we got the weather, as you always say. The classic links courses, its biggest defense is the weather. So I think we got a little bit of that today.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. So Brian Harman, he was the leader, obviously. Going into the event, 54-hole leader. He personally not like, I'm not too excited. I'm not too kind of bowled over by Brian Harman winning this. I think he's very good. He's also super consistent. Like no one got near him really. Going into yesterday, I kind of thought that was going to be the day that he'd maybe drop off a little bit. Maybe he'd stutter. Maybe he'd stumble. But he really didn't. He seemed to just kind of hold it together. And same kind of ran through today. What did you make of his performance?
He was just so consistent. Like I think because it was Brian Harman, we actually, I think everyone overlooked how good he was playing and what he was doing. I think it had been a Rahm or Rory or a Spieth or like anyone like that, or Fleetwood even, I think we would have been going, oh, he's incredible. This is unbelievable. But because it was Brian Harman and it wasn't a big star, we actually kind of overlooked actually how well he played. Like I think I kind of had a little bit of a deep dive. Like there's some serious records he broke. Like the stats from all those days was actually pretty incredible. So I'm actually gonna not apologize to him because I'm not a big Brian Harman fan, but Jesus, he was brilliant. He really was.
Yeah, no, he was super. He like fair play to him. He held it together. He was, I mean, throughout the entire day today, and then even yesterday, he was just super consistent. He never really looked like he was going to stutter. He had a couple of holes early on where he got a little nervous. Obviously, he knew the day was coming. Even yesterday, he dropped 2 shots early enough, but by the 6th hole had rebounded and he was all good then. And he was kind of back to flying form and full form. Before we get into him properly, though, I want to just introduce. We have a special guest on the show today, and this is a man who was on site at Hoylake. He's even doing a little bit of commentary for Sky Sports. Welcome to the show, Brendan Lawlor. Brendan, how are you?
Lads, how's things? How are you?
Yeah, we're great, thank you. What's going on? How are you? How are you keeping?
Good. Sorry for the setting. I was just in the cinema, and it was the longest fucking movie I was ever at. Jesus Christ!
Barbie movie, was it? Did you go see the Barbie film?
Rebecca wanted to go, and I said, "I'm not having it." We went to see the Mission Impossible, so it was good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was good. So it was good buzz. How are you boys keeping?
Yeah, good. What do you make of the Open? Brian Harman, Open champion golfer for the year.
Well, I was talking to a lot of the guys from the R&A during the week, and a lot of them were saying we're due. We're not saying it's a bad winner, but we're due someone that's not up at the top. So they weren't wrong, but I thought he kept his composure very well to go out in that last round. I know we might have had I think this was a 5 shot lead going into today, but you still have to bring it home. and it was a lot of rain. You've the likes of McIlroy chasing you, Tommy Fleetwood, some of the greats in the world. So to fend them boys off, I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he did. He's really good. So you were obviously on site. You were there. You were there for a couple of days. What was it like being on Hoylake?
It was unreal. The crowds were nuts. It's probably the biggest event I've been to with that many people. It was, I think there was 50, 60,000 per day. And you couldn't see much of the golf, to be honest. It was like, if you wanted to see Rory, you had to go 4 or 5 holes ahead and just wait and then watch a few groups come through. But the whole atmosphere, the buzz, the weather was lovely for the first few days. Today wasn't as nice with the weather, but it was just a great experience, and I think it went down really well.
Yeah, just looking at the stats, there was over 260,000 spectators at the Open, and that is the largest outside of an Open in St Andrews, and actually surpassed Royal Portrush in 2019.
Yeah, well, look, they're lovely stats because it means the game's growing, and what I thought was wonderful as well, the amount of women and kids were at the golf. It was a frightening amount, and we're trying to grow the game on every side of the pond, and it's lovely to see that the crowds are growing on that side too.
When it comes to then the event itself, as the course playing, you also were on site. You're doing a bit of commentary with Sky Sports. How did the course look from your perspective, kind of on the ground?
It looked good, to be honest. I thought the scoring would be better. I know Brian Harmon shot a really good score, but I thought there'd be more boys up there. What made it hard was the bunkers, the pot bunkers on the fairways. Like if you went in one of them, you're chipping out sideways. It's like taking a penalty drop. So you had to be very accurate off the tee. But what I noticed as well was the amount of places where the crowds stepped down all the real bad rough. It could have been 30, 40 yards of like kind of trampled down rough, but a clean lie, where some of the fairways were like 20, 30 yards long. So I thought I'd see more of the guys taking a bigger miss or even aiming for grandstands to get a better line, but you didn't see much of that. And I thought that could have happened.
And then you were doing a bit of commentary as well with Sky Sports. How did that come about? I think when we spoke last during the Irish Open last year, you were in the booth with them as well that week. Is that something you're doing a good bit of now?
Yeah, I'm doing the Irish Open this year as well. So it's something I really enjoy, to be honest. It's good because I get a knowledge of the course beforehand. I'd usually say play at the Pro-Am, or if you have a G4D event, you're playing the course twice. So it's really important to see the layout of the championship course and know where to miss it, know where the pins are tucked and all that sort of thing. And we're trying to paint that image in people's heads that if they can hit the shots and how tricky these shots are. Like when you're playing, say, the K Club on an Irish Open week, it's set up a lot different to the K Club on a Tuesday. It's set up a lot tougher, especially where the pins are. They might make the greens a lot firmer. They'll grow up the rough. So these courses are a lot tougher and you need to know them, but I love it.
So let's talk us through the event. We saw a video actually with that the DP World Tour put up where you were going around chatting with a couple of people, kind of giving the day of the life of Brendan Lawlor on site. What was the vibe like the week of a major?
It was really good. So the RNA invited me this week to join them after the G40 Open. So I got a message from the guys of the RNA saying that I want to come to the Open, film a wee bit of content, but more so just to enjoy the week and do a little bit of networking, talk to a few people on the range. And it was unreal. I went to Portrush, but apart from that, it was my first major. And there was such a buzz. I went with my cousin's the same age as me, so we kind of made a trip out of it, and we incorporated a good bit of work as well. So all in all, it was a fantastic week.
And so what days were you on site? Who did you see and who did you get to spend a bit of time with?
I got there on Wednesday. So I was there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I was home this morning. So we were just bouncing between a few guys. It was more so we got good access to the range. So you had the likes of Kepler coming on, Morikawa, Lowry, and I would have known all these guys from playing weekends on the DP World Tour and some events on the PGA Tour. So we've started to gain good relationships. So every time they're walking past, they'd always stop, say hello, just have a bullshit really, and just chat about general stuff. It's not about golf. It's not about the course setup. It's about how's the family and what are you doing this evening? How do you take your mind off going into a lead? It's just general chat. So it's really nice to make them relationships.
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask you about. And like, Harman he slept on a 5-shot lead twice. Yeah. So like, obviously Johnny and I have never been in a tournament like that. But I mean, you have when you're in the hunt and you're up the top, but you may not be first, but you're first or second, third, you're kind of in the mix. Like, how do you take your mind off it in the evening, and how do you even get to sleep?
It's tough. Like, his situation was obviously a lot different than mine. He was leading the Open, which was massive. And I know I leaded the Open when I was going into it, but I'm not saying it's on a smaller scale, but it's the first time we've done it. But it's weird. Like, he's been in contention so many times on the PGA Tour. So if you can bring yourself to a mentality that it's just another week, it's just another event, and he can take the focus off that big hype of, oh, I might win my first major, it's extremely hard to do. But he did it. He was unreal. And I think pre-shot routine and composure is big in that case as well.
Yeah, geez, that's some pre-shot routine. There's a lot of waggles going on there. That was tough to watch, to be honest with you.
It was very funny actually when he won today. I was about to post off my Instagram a picture of him and a picture of me saying we fellas can win Opens. That's tomorrow. We'll see what the story is.
Yeah. We'll have to chat to you properly about the your Open win in a couple of minutes. But who did you get to see on site? Who are you following, and I guess like who really jumped out to you? I mean, obviously following Rory. There's the whole kind of circus that comes with that. But was there anyone kind of that you wouldn't spend a bit of time with that surprised you?
I get on very well with Pablo Olazabal from Spain. He invited me to his event a few weeks ago, and he's a rocket. He's great crack. Like, he just loves the pints, loves just chatting about general stuff. And I spent a bit of time with him the last few weeks and a wee bit of time at the Open. But these guys are so focused. You're not with them for 15-20 minutes. It's a 1 minute conversation and they're gone. It was weird actually. We were on the range on the Thursday and I seen Rory on the Wednesday, and he was just bubbly, interacting with all the crowd. And then he came on the Thursday, walked onto the range, and it was just like a robot gliding across the fairway, just looking at all his prey dead in the eye and not saying nothing. It was mental. He just was in that tunnel focus, which was crazy.
Because he didn't do any media, he did very, very little, didn't do any post-round stuff, particularly yesterday. Did you get the sense kind of from seeing him, from the little time you did get to spend with him, that he was a different Rory? It was, a bit more business. This is business time.
Yeah, but I think that different Rory at majors is not beneficial for him because he hasn't won in so long. And when he took that approach last week of doing all his media stuff, joking with the crowd, interacting with everyone, he went out and won the Scottish Open. And that was a pretty heavy field. Like, he had Scheffler at it, he had Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, Spieth, some of the best players in the world. And I think he's trying to, well, when you play golf, if you try and change what you do to be more serious, or I'm going to do this, sometimes it doesn't work. And I think that approach for him just isn't working at majors. He needs to be more, let the hair down, interact, not change anything, because he can win on tour all the time. If he can bring that attitude into majors, it'll be just a different story.
You think just a bit more chilled, a bit more like in the Scottish Open, he was laughing, he was chatting to his caddy, like the two of them seemed to be in a really kind of fun zone and just kind of go after things. Yeah. So I think you've definitely got a point that, just at this stage, I think he probably just wants it so badly.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think he wants it so badly and he's trying to change the outcome for himself, or he should just keep to his process. I think that'd work for him.
So let's talk about Brian Harman then. He obviously won. He is the champion golfer of the year. Did you get to watch much of him when you were on site? Who were you commentating on when you were with Sky Sports?
I done a feature group with Jordan Spieth, Fitzpatrick, and Jason Day.
That's not bad. That's not a bad group to be seeing.
It was unreal. I think they had 9 birdies in the first 7 holes between them. They were just firing them in. But Brian Harman, I didn't see much from him, to be honest. I watched him for a few holes, but I read a stat yesterday, and I think he holed 39 putts from inside 10 feet, and that was all he had.
He made 58 out of 59 putts inside 10 feet over the 4 days. So you probably saw it on whichever day you were commentating. You saw the stat. That's incredible,
and that deserves to win. If you can putt like that and you can putt like a demon. Because he's not short off the tee, but he's not a Rory McIlroy, and he has to depend his putting, and he's going to make birdies. If you can make that many putts, you're going to win a lot of stuff.
Got a question in here from Anthony, who's actually watching the live show at the moment. Can the simple solution for Rory be to part company with his caddy? Then do you think the caddy should take the lead at this stage and initiate the breakup? Jeez, I didn't think we were going to get that deep into it that quickly. Let's talk the Harry Diamond situation. I think we've both said before. For me personally, I don't care that Harry is Rory's good friend, but he's been on the bag now 7-8 years, and if you've had a caddy on your bag and you're Rory McIlroy and you have no majors in that time, I think you need some kind of change. Whether it's the caddy, possibly, whether it's not, who knows?
Yeah, it's very tough. If you look at longevity with Rory, he hasn't left the top 10 in, is it 12 years?
Yeah.
And you're not playing shit golf if you're not leaving the top 10 in the world.
Of course. But
yes, he's not winning majors. People define someone on a major, but if you look at Rory, I'm not sticking up for him. I am a fan of Rory, but if you look at him from outside of the majors, he's Tiger-esque. Him, John Ram, Scotty Scheffler win loads of tournaments, come in top 5 every week. I don't like this perception of you have to win to be unreal or you have to sack someone. If you went to any golfer on tour and they had the resume Rory had for 1 year, that's a fantastic year.
Yeah.
So I think people are, I think they can be a wee bit harsh on just judging him on what he wins and stuff. That's just my opinion.
He's had 7 top 10s in his last 8 majors.
Yeah, but I think the one that matters the most, which is the Masters, he's got miscut, second miscut. It's tough for him especially when the Scottish Open was a great win, it was a brilliant win for him, but we said this in the podcast, that wasn't the main event for him. That wasn't why he went over to the UK. He didn't go over there to win the Scottish. He went there to win the Open.
Yeah. And
when you're Rory McIlroy, there's only really one thing that matters to the resume, and that's doing the career Grand Slam. That's kind of it. I mean, obviously he gave his post-round press interview there. He's talking to Sky Sports, and he was saying that instantly now he's not looking back anymore. He's not looking back in the majors and his year. He's looking forward to 2 things, and that's retaining the FedEx Cup and the race to Dubai. So obviously he's targeted those again as his kind of his focus for this season. But yeah, I think it gets harder and harder to make the argument for keeping the caddy.
Yeah, it's just, I think the more pressure you put on yourself, the less it's going to happen. And you can see in his demeanor on a major week, he's a different person. He's I think he looks tense. I think he's very jittery. And when you hear him cancelling his media requirements the week of the Open and not do it, why change what's working? There's no need. You know what I mean?
That's very true. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think Rory's a funny one. We'll move on from the Rory conversation because we've done Rory to death. But he's a funny one because he's tried everything. He's done the treating it really importantly, treating it not like it's a regular week. Because he's obviously been on the circuit for so long and he's done so much, he's kind of tried everything at this point. It's just a case of, does it all fit together on the right week? Let's talk about another European player from the Ryder Cup perspective. Obviously, big year coming up. John Ram. John Ram was the one for me who I thought was going to run Harman down, and the biggest disappointment for me. No offense to Cam Young, but I fully believe if John Ram was in that final group, he would have scared Brian Harman a bit more. and we would have had a bit more of a showdown.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. But I think props for Harman. When you see someone play shit, it could drag you down to their level.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and he kind of engaged in it in the first 4 holes because he was 2 over early. But he done the same yesterday. He was 2 over after 4, I think, and finished 2-3 under for his round.
Yeah.
So he can dig deep. So I don't think anything like that phases him. But you're right. If you had Ram chasing you in the same group, and if he bogeyed the first 4 and Ram maybe was 2 under after 4, it's a 4-shot flip and there's only 1 shot in it. It's a different game then. But this is all hindsight. You know what I mean? It's very tough to say. It could have went either way. I think he did very well to win it.
I don't know. I don't know if you saw Max Homa's interview at one stage, and he was playing with Rory, and he said it was a nightmare because he says Rory would hit, and then John Ram would just, or the fans would all try and move and walk away, and Max Homa was like, oh, okay, no one, like, it's the sound of people walking everywhere, and he says people are giving him a bit of a heckle, been like, oh, come on, Homa, hit your shot. We're not here to see you anyway. Like, come on. And like he was just saying that he in his press conference, he said he kind of enjoyed the bit of banter, but he was saying like that was tough to play with Rory. And you wonder if Wyndham Clark had played with Rory in the final of the US Open, if Harman had played with Rory in the pairing of this. You wonder, would all of that been too much on those lads, considering, as you said, Rory is kind of Tiger-esque.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it is tough for the crowds. The crowds are very sort of, I wouldn't say they don't care because they do stay quiet and wait for your shots, but there's so much going on around you. And yes, there's more people focused on Rory group, but there was a big group following Harman as well today. There would have been thousands of people following him because he's winning. So there's always people going to be moving, and that's a distraction. Them boys train themselves for that stuff, not to distract them.
Yeah.
But it probably annoyed Max today, got in his head a wee bit, and maybe he was a wee bit in awe of the occasion. But I think he's a fabulous player, and I think Max will be a major winner pretty soon himself.
Yeah, Johnny's a big fan of Max Homa. He backed him for a couple of tournaments.
Yeah. I thought Max would do better at LACC. I'll be honest. I thought Max in California would be kind of a bit of a shoe-in, to be honest.
Really?
I thought, yeah. I mean, he's got a couple of his wins there. Obviously, wasn't Genesis up the road. I thought LACC would have suited him, but what was I wrong? Because he missed another cut. So listen, let's talk about your own win this year, the inaugural G4D. First of all, how was that open? That's massive.
It was unbelievable. Like we do G4D events on the European tour, but this was a different gravy. Just the level of organization when you got there, the players' lounge, everything was done for you like within a pinpoint perfect. It was incredible, and it was just like, I don't want to go into the motivation part of golf, but this year we moved to Monday and Tuesday on DP World Tour, and less people can see what we do, and I found it very demotivating, and I couldn't get that spark back, as in, oh, what's the point in winning? And this is my attitude. It's an attitude I shouldn't have had, but we were sort of playing. No one was watching us. Caddies were walking onto the greens. I just felt a wee bit disrespectful about our tournaments. But I regained the spark that week. There was loads of people watching. People really respected what we did. There was big crowds there following, just general people coming to watch, and I needed that in my game. I didn't win in, I think it was 13 months, and I think I needed that spark where just to refocus myself and get the job done.
Because even the last day was a showdown between your world number 2. It was a showdown between you and Kip Hoffert. So it was really like the two titans of your game going at it, which I'm sure was a brilliant match. So when it came to winning that, like, what was it? Was it relief or was it renewed energy? Because you said that you kind of lost a bit of a spark there.
Yeah, it was a weird day as well, because I had a 1-shot lead going out, and I was 2 shots down by the third hole.
You didn't have a great start.
It was a horrific start.
You were doing it for the drama. You were doing it for the fans. You know, make it really contested.
Story built up. I was building up the story. But no, it was mad because Kip was spraying it all week. It was like a Brian Harman thing. he told me his stats for that week, and he holed 44 out of 46 putts from inside 10 feet that week.
Wow.
And I don't keep them shitty stats. Well, it's great stats, but I'm not focusing on all that stuff. I'm just going out and playing my game. But I probably had the worst putting week I had all year. But my tee to green, I hit 52 greens out of 56. Sorry, 52 greens out of 54. And I think I averaged maybe 30 putts around. But my ball striking was unreal, and it was a ball striking course. So I was playing with Kip the last day, and he was spraying a wee bit. He was behind trees, chipping out, getting up and down for par, where I was down the fairway, hitting the green 2 putts. Par 5, that's how I was making my birdies. I'd hit it down the middle, hit 3 wood middle of the green, another 2 putts. Then I'd suddenly 3-putt a green, back to level par. Then I might hole stitch and wedge like 2 feet. They're all tap-ins. It wasn't necessarily holding 2-3 30-footers in a round. It was just sort of stress-free golf. But as I went 2 shots behind. And I said, Dad turned around and said, you need to just keep focusing. He's spraying it. You just need to keep making pars. He'll make bogeys. And that's what happened. I made a really good birdie on 10, and he bogeyed it. So that was a 2-shot swing. And that got me back to level. And I think he bogeyed 15. And I parred it. So that got me 1 up. So then we had 3 to play, and I was 1 up in the last. And he was up first. So it flipped in some way. I can't really remember how it happened. But he pushed this drive right. And I didn't know he had to take it unplayable at the time. I was just up next. So I hit driver, ripped it down the middle. Really, really good drive. And we went up to his ball, and he was marking it and was taking club lengths. And I was like, thank fuck he's doing that. It just took a relief off. So then he was hitting 3, hit his third into the bunker, 4th to about 15 feet and hold the bogey putt. And I have about 15 feet for birdie. So I kind of knew just cozy this one up, take your 2 putts in the way, and won the event by 2 shots in the end, which was incredible.
Like it's a pretty big, like it's the first Open major. It's pretty. Like, it is history. You're the first winner of it.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, I've been very lucky to be the first to do a lot of things in disability golf, and just keep adding to the resume. It's such a special thing to do, and we're just creating a path for more people to do it. We're trying to make it more financially secure for many more disability athletes, and we're doing well. I think we might have 12 events next year in DP World Tour. So if we can start introducing a wee bit of prize money, more people are going to come out of the woodworks, and it'll be competitive.
That's great.
I was trying to find a photo of the trophy online. I couldn't find one. What is it like?
There's one on my Instagram.
I'm gonna have a look.
It's actually very weird. It's one you can't fill, which was a nightmare. Coming out everywhere. But the cool thing about the Open was I can design next year's trophy.
Oh,
so,
that is cool.
Way.
Yeah, so we've had meetings with the RNA for the last few weeks, and I'm meeting them at Wentworth this year, and we're going to design the trophy. So it's going to be pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
So then after the win, and kind of in and around that time as well, you also put out the video, kind of responding to a lot of negative talk that kind of went on and was directed at you. Like, yeah. Can you talk to us about what happened there, and how the idea for the video came about? Because the response then off the back of that video was rightly just amazing and incredibly supportive of you. Yeah,
got a lot of feedback, and it was a nervous one as well, because I didn't know what to do, because it wasn't a sympathy vote. I wasn't looking for people to text me saying, "Oh, you okay?" Because I don't care about that stuff. I basically done it to a lot of disability golfers are going to be in the limelight in the next coming years, hopefully 10, 15, 20 years. And the slander online, they don't deserve to get that. And some of them mightn't be mentally strong enough to take it either. I am. I don't care. I grew up my whole life with it. But if they could take an example and be like, give them a coping mechanism to deal with the hate online. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to do it. And I dropped it right before the Open. It probably wasn't the best time to drop it, because I had a lot of media feedback, and I wouldn't say it was overwhelming, but there was a lot of focus on it. And when I got to the Open, then they brought it up in every interview, and they were focusing on all this thing with social media. And I was trying to focus on the tournament. But again, it wasn't a publicity stunt. It was just to make people aware of, just to keep your horns in on social media and just think about people's feelings every now and again.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. And listen, like I said, rightly so. You got a lot of support, and you are a trailblazer when it comes to disability golf. You said yourself, you're the first person to do a lot of things when it comes to disability golf, not just in Ireland but globally. So with that, what's coming up next for you?
What's next? Well, a week and a half later, I went to Sweden, and I think I was still hungover because I celebrated that win for about 8 days in a row. But you have to celebrate these things. So the Open this week, just a bit of work with Sky. Yeah, I'm in Galgorm now in 3 weeks for the ISPS Handle Championship.
Let's do that.
I have a week's work at the Irish Open with Sky as well.
Very nice.
And we have some media stuff planned too. We have the week after that, we've Wentworth. The BMW Championship. I think the Ryder Cup's in around then as well. Mm-hmm. So I had a few chats with the Ryder Cup when I was over there. So I could be incorporating something at the Ryder Cup, fingers crossed. I had a wee chat with Nicholas Goldsars the weekend, so I have to keep in touch with him whether we can sort something out with you. It's going to be busy, very busy end of the year, and we're in Dubai in Australia in November. It's great though. I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm very lucky to travel the world doing it.
That's amazing, man. That's something. I'm delighted to hear that, and thrilled to see you doing so well.
Love it. Hey, thanks very much.
No worries. Listen, we'll let you go. I'm glad you enjoyed Mission Impossible. Go check out Oppenheimer and Barbie next. Which would you guys see first, Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Well, Rebecca said Barbie, and I said, yeah, some chance. Go with your mother. I'm not doing that.
I don't know.
Don't knock her.
Margaret Robbie's in it, man.
Robbie.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Never seen. Becca's here.
All right. We're going to let you go before you get us in trouble, all right?
Yeah.
No worries, lads. Come here. Thanks very much for having me on. I'll chat to you soon.
See you later,
Take care.
Yeah.
See you later, boys.
Right. Geez, he's a gas man. And I'm thrilled to see him doing so well. Really, honestly, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, what a legend.
Yeah. So, we didn't get to a couple of things. We still have a good few talking points. Brian Harmon obviously did incredibly well. I don't think we've gone into like quite what this means for him. You were saying we got some notes here that this is his first major and first win in 2,268 days. So the Wells Fargo 2017.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's a long time to go without winning. Especially he was kind of in the mix there in Scotland last week. You knew he was trending. A few people did pick him this week.
And like last year, he did well in St Andrews as well. I think he was 6th or 7th in St Andrews last year. Doing so, it's a long time to go there to win. But I mean, listen, I think you and we've always talked about you'd trade in Wells Fargo and the Barracuda and all that for one major. You know, you'd trade in a rake of normal PGA or DP World Tour events for the major. Other thing that I thought was really interesting is he's 114th in driving distance on the PGA Tour. 14th in driving accuracy, but 4th in scrambling.
I guess you kind of have to be like if your game is not built off a distance, you have to be accurate and you have to be able to get up and down because like 18th hole today is a perfect example of it. He hit his driver, he laid up to 200 yards for some reason. Don't know why he laid up to that number, and then hits it into the greenside bunker on 18, but gets up and down. Like if that's what your game is built off of, you just have to be doing this. You have to get up and down.
Like, the other thing I was just thinking about it is very nice. I was thinking about it because it's very nice to see that there's a different golfer winning. As in, we're talking about roll back the ball and the driver does this and these lads hit it a mile, and you're going, well, no, it's not always the guy who hits it the furthest is going to win. Like, there's a fella who's so solid. He's not tiny short, like he's not, but he was so consistent and he was so drilled that it's not just the big hitters that win. I think we always talk about there has to be a bit more villains, has to be a bit more heroes in golf. There have to be lads who hit the ball different, who choose different things. I think it's really good for the game, and I know he's not a standout star, and that's what we talk about. I think that's why people weren't that happy, maybe didn't like this major enough, because there wasn't a full duel with massive big stars.
Yeah.
But Brian Harman, it could be another way for him to go. Like he's going to be in a Ryder Cup now.
Yeah.
I don't. If I was in the European team, I wouldn't want to play him in a singles match in Rome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think Brian Harman would have been on either of our teams if we were to pick the US Ryder Cup team.
Definitely not.
So by virtue of that, whose spot is he taking? You know, because we've spoken at length before about how strong the US team is. Like, if you have like a Max Homa or a JT or a Jordan or a Ricky who.
Or a Finau.
A few of those guys are qualified, but like JT hasn't. Like, like has Brian Harman taken JT's spot now?
It'd be very hard,
or someone else's. Like,
I think it'd be very hard for Zach Johnson not to pick him, considering he's the winner of the last major and was so consistent, and no one got near him. And he was 5 shots, another 5 shots. No one even got near -9, let alone -13. Like, literally, no one laid a glove on him. There was at the very start of today, when Rory put 3 birdies in a row, Rahm was doing stuff, and Harman bogeyed 2. There was a little bit of what's going to happen, but then that was nothing else. I think you texted me. I'd say there was still about 2.5 hours left in the golf tournament, and you just texted me going, "This is done. Harman has it. We're just watching a procession here." And I replied, "No, there's going to be drama. There's going to be drama." But you were dead right. It was game over.
Yeah, but I mean, like, look, I'm glad I was right to a degree, but I would have, like anyone else, liked a little bit of drama. Mark Sheehan is commenting here. He thinks that Brian should be taking JT's spot at the moment. I think that's off of current form. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to argue with that, really. I think to say that JT won't kind of turn it on and find something for the week of the event, I think that'd be pretty incorrect to say. It kind of comes back to that Seve story that Roddy was telling us, where Seve couldn't hit the golf ball out of his own way. Like, he was playing shocking. But he just managed to find it and turn it on for that final day, for that final singles match, and took the match down like 16 holes. 16, 17 holes. He lost the match, but he took it so far that he was able to give the European team enough motivation to go on and win the Ryder Cup. I think JT's the kind of character where he'd kind of do something like that.
Do you think?
I think he is. Yeah,
I love JT, but I think from looking at him, he looks shocked. He doesn't look in a good place. I think because he's not playing atrociously, but he's hitting one decent enough shot, and then he's just hitting a stupid shot. So I just don't think he knows what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think one man who really stepped up and was from round one in particular, the amateur was his name, Christo Lemprecht, 6'8".
Huge man. He's a big boy, all right.
A monster, and a winner of the silver medal. He had a brilliant start to the major. You know, he did really, really well. He did fantastically well. He obviously he struggled when it came to the second round. He had to sleep on that lead, and again, it was a considerable enough lead. As a couple of shots. He then just, I think, like any amateur would, unless you're Sam Bennett at the Masters.
Yeah,
he got a little nervous, and the moment kind of caught up with him. But fair play. Listen, winning the silver medal, low amateur, making the weekend, and that was just really, really impressive. I think that's a very, very cool story.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was watching a bit of it, and the guy said that because he was so tall growing up, he kept jumping in height, so his clubs never really fit him. So it's actually his swing where he bends his knees is from when he was younger, where he had to actually bend to get down to the ball for the club to hit it. And it's just now in his swing, even though his clubs fit him now. So if you watch him swing, it's up, and then there's a whole big down and knees bent, and then hits it. It's strange, but they were saying that came from the clubs not fitting him, and he generally had to bring the club down to get the ball.
It's mad because his swing looks like he's a little bit scoopy and just trying to help the ball. But that's obviously just because the clubs are too short. That's a great story. That's really good.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Another good story from the weekend, from the event itself. Matthew Jordan, right? So 27 years old, qualified into the Open Championship through final qualifying a couple of weeks ago. But he's also, like, as everyone knows, as the video went around, he's a member of Royal Liverpool. He was the first person to hit a tee shot at the Open this year. He grew up just down the road in West Kirby, lives in Hoylake, third generation of his family to be a member of this golf club as well. Obviously, he plays in the DP World Tour, but when he's not on tour, this is where he practices. And, like, to be fair, he finished tied for 11th, 4 under.
I think did he get to 10? He might have got to. I think he got top 10. I think he squeezed in top 10. Yeah, I think he got into top 10 because I only realized I saw a video of him arriving back into the clubhouse.
That's class.
And there was like massive cheers, and all the locals that he knows were in there and having beers and stuff. I thought that, like, I think it was on the DP World Tour. Like, that's the sort of stuff that, as you and I were saying, home opens, the Canadian Open, Bob McIntyre got into the Scottish, and then it was like he was going into his home. Like, he couldn't have been closer. And he did a bit of Sky, I think, on the range as well. He's just a really likable guy, and he was just so buzzed to be there. So I think right, that was a really cool story.
He's got the course record, shot 62 around there, so that record hadn't been broken this week, which I think is a nice little story for him. He's also he's part of Team Callaway, as we are now as well. So for anyone that doesn't know at this point, the Bogey Men are supported by Callaway Golf. We were also down in Lahinch. We were down in County Clare for this week just gone. We were filming season 3 of Tea Time, our golf travel series, where we played Lahinch Castle Course, Trumpdoonbeg, Shannon Golf Club, and Lahinch Old Course. We filmed all of it. We'll be putting that out, interviews with some golf experts coming in. But that series and podcast are all supported by Callaway Golf. So you'll see us now rocking Callaway hats, wearing Callaway gloves, losing Callaway golf balls, all that good stuff.
I will say the fact we had a caddy in Lahinch, you went round the whole 18 without losing the ball, and I lost 1 ball.
Yeah, made a massive difference. Shot 9 over. Shot 9 over in Lahinch with 1 ball. First time I ever played it. I was thrilled with that.
So I think we need to somehow get a caddy for Old Connacht, and anywhere we play in Power Scores with a few mates, we get a caddy. I'm telling you, shout out to Martin, who'd walk past my shoulder. 2 balls on the left, kid. That's 2 balls out on the right. They're dead straight. I think I held a few putts I had no business doing, all because Martin was guiding me around. I was trying to remember what he said to you on the second hole. He had this was brilliant.
It's a flyer lie, hit it high, let the ball die. The man spoke in riddles every time he was giving me a tip or giving me a line or anything. It was great. He was his class. He was just, and all the caddies down there are as well. Like we were talking to Tony, the head caddy master, and there's a group of Americans, as there more often than not always is, playing the Hinch and playing some of these big kind of trophy courses. And so in this group of Americans, the main guy or the lead guy, his best friend, about 40 odd years ago, went to Lahinch, and his caddy was this 10-year-old kid named Ollie. So the 10-year-old kid back then was caddying for him, brought him around the golf course. This American came back 38 years later, and as he was on the first tee, he was getting his caddy, and he was like, "Is this kid Ollie? Is he still caddying here?" Now bear in mind, it's 38 years later, so the 10-year-old is now 48. He's no longer a kid. So this also just tells you how old this American guy was. And so not only was Ollie still caddying, he was actually walking off 18 green at that exact moment, and they reunited, and Ollie went out and looped again for that American for another 18 holes, and the Ollie was presented by that American's best friend a photograph, like a framed photograph of Ollie and the American when he was 10 years old, and then 48 years old, 38 years later. It was a lovely little thing that we managed to catch on the camera, and that's just what makes like places like Lahinch and that trip in general for us just so special, when you get to just meet people, hear those stories, and just get to share those stories on our platform as well. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable trip, and like I think for me anyway, looking at playing that, like it's gonna take something big to beat that golf trip. The uniqueness of it and the history of it, and just how friendly people were and everything. So if anyone is planning a golf trip, Clare, I'm telling you, you will not go wrong on many accounts going to Clare.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, obviously we got it. I'm in Clare a lot. We're going to be in Clare later on for the Women's Irish Open. We work with Dromoland, so because we work with Dromoland so much, we decided not to include them in this series because we're going to be on site for the Women's Irish Open. That is all brought to you by Sports Direct, and actually, the week of the Women's Irish Open, the Tuesday and the Wednesday of that show, the tournament, we are going to be doing live from the range. It's exactly what like Sky Sports do. But on the Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be live streaming from the driving range of the Women's Irish Open. We're going to have challenge videos with tour players, interviews with them. We'll be doing live Q&As and everything with them during like an hour and a half, 2 hour long live show. So we're going to be doing plenty down in the hinge. But we're straying away from the original plan of this live stream, which was the Open Championship. So let's just get back on track. Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh man, I've never seen a man so upset. Was it Friday? Saturday? Yeah. He looked. I just wanted to give him a hug. He just looked so down. And even today, he made one birdie.
Yeah, and then like 17 killed him. That was so. That was genuinely pretty hard to watch. With 17, where he had to chip the ball like 4 foot forward just to give himself a backswing. Yeah. And then knock that short on as well, and you're like, oh god, Tommy, what are you doing yourself?
I think coming back to a point we made earlier, when he was in the group with Harman, he put zero pressure on him.
Yeah.
And I think that like no one seemed to put pressure on Harman, and you're kind of going, Tommy, you need to do this. You're a ball striker. Everything is suited for you. And I think I don't even think it was the pressure of being in Liverpool and the Tommy lad. Let's go, Tommy lad. I don't think that even was a factor. I don't know. I think you have a theory on Tommy, which it's looking more and more like you're right, but I don't want to believe it.
So I guess with all the Brian Harman being into his hunting these days, I have come up with a metric for measuring players, and that is he a hunter or is he a gatherer? So Hunter will go out and he'll go and get the win, and he'll do whatever it takes to get the win. That's what a hunter will do. He'll stay out there and he'll work as persistent and be as patient as possible to get that win. And a gatherer will just kind of survive, we'll say. Not rack up too many wins, but kind of a lot of constant top 10s, top 5s to keep their tour card and be in conversations, but not be a winner. And Tommy for me he's not a hunter anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he's got that. I'm hopeful he'll get the killer. Yeah, I don't think he's got that killer instinct. And you look back at was he second to Shane in Port Rush, or was he third or something? Like he's second all the time, second or third all the time. I know Ryder Cup he was brilliant, but he had a partner. He had Molinari, so it's a different kind of feeling. You've got someone to buzz off. So it was so disappointing.
Yeah, no, it was a little bit, but it was. I don't think anyone was going to be catching Brian Harman in the end.
No.
Seth Straka, if we're going to look at this from the European perspective, he had another good result. Kind of matched that with his 27th PGA. He won the John Deere.
He was impressive, and off the tee he was very impressive. He had a couple of drives that were nice and big, but dead straight. So again, from a European point of view, if he's going to be hitting go off the tee with his driver in a tight, narrow fairway, that's pretty good. I mean, he also was on the European team for the Hero Cup this year, which they beat GB and I. So I know Donald was involved in picking who was to go with who, and there was playing captains, and so he did quite well there as well. So he's played team golf before, but I think he's just really started to improve. You know, TZ, as you said, TZ and PG, and then after the John Deere, he just seems to be full of confidence.
Yeah, I think the European team is starting to take shape and pick itself a little bit more, I think we can pretty much guarantee that Seth Strack is going to be on this team, whether he's a pick or whether he qualifies to the European points. I imagine with this result, he is going to be on the automatic qualifier picks at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The bunkers then were a pretty big storyline. I think.
They
want to like that.
I like it. We got one question in earlier on, just saying that this person Ian felt that the bunkers ruined the course and ruined the 18th, which I completely disagree with. Thought it was brilliant.
I thought the chaos was amazing. I loved how you did have awful light, how you were up against the face of it. I think that whole point of those bunkers, if you know that the ball could run up to the face of the bunker, you got to just take like a half a club less or a club less, and build that into your strategy. You can't. It's just because the ball can roll up to the face doesn't mean you change the outline or the layout of the bunkers.
Yeah, like I think that they are a hazard, and I think when you normally watch a normal PGA tour, there's lads even going, I was actually aiming for the bunker because I knew it would be easier than the chip. So, So listen, I loved it. I think Finau's one. I think I sent you. He was up the face and he trying to got his putter and then he put it backwards into the bunker just to have a shot out. Like, brilliant. It's the best golfers in the world. I want to see them do things. I want to see them come out with stuff going, geez, that was amazing. And after being in Lahinch, I think there's a couple of bunkers in Lahinch and in Doonbeg I was in for a while. Like you do realize going, geez, like these lads are seriously good and you want to see them get out of really tough spots.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think that's kind of the main talking points for us. You've got visitors there in the room just off camera that you got to tuck into bed. But next week is the Monday Evian Championship. It's another women's major. We might do this again next week. We'll see what it's like. Guys, like more than happy with this. If you enjoy this, and we'll do plenty more. But we'll be doing a live stream from the range, the Women's Irish Open. So lots more of these streams to come. Thank you very much.